What's going on, SoFi fans? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to give you an overview of the data points, what is happening, so some of the latest updates from SoFi, and everything else that you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it is up 0.58%. A lot of good momentum being had today. So $9.74 being the high. And there was a couple different reasons for that. One of which is banks are still unveiling their earnings. There was also this that did come out. So a new analyst rating from Bank of America, who did give a $10 price target. And this analyst does have a 59% success rating. So kind of good in comparison to, I guess, a lot of the other analysts, if you want to consider it that way. So of course there's that, but at the time of doing this video, there is no recent SEC filings, no press releases, nothing along those lines. So it is just merely following off of the broader market and also just the earnings and various other things. But I think in general, SoFi is really showing a lot of good strength. And my last update, or my last video, I guess I said, based on the technicals, it did need to pull back down into kind of the mid 8s for it to consolidate and try again. And coincidentally, that is exactly what did happen on the 13th. So it kind of pulled back down to the 870 range. I would have anticipated around 850, but regardless, it still did fairly good in that regard. So it's kind of ready to once again move back up. So stochastic, as you can see, is currently at 82, which is considered a little bit more overbought. Momentum shows number of retail investors are getting out today, but despite that bigger picture, they have been getting in ever since the dip that did occur on the 7th. So I think a lot of people are seeing a lot of good value in SoFi, especially considering their earnings is right around the corner, as you can see on July the 31st, first thing in the morning, so 7 a.m. So let me know you guys' thoughts as far as that. Like I've mentioned, I'm going to give you guys updates as far as if analysts changed their forecast for that last minute. And it looks like 2 analysts did recently jump on board and gave estimates as far as earnings per share. They didn't really change the average though, so the current average is -6 cents. And as far as revenue goes, so right at the bottom here, so it looks like one analyst recently got on board and was a little bit lower than the previous. So previous average was 476, so that's the average consensus or estimates, I guess. And it is now 475. But in both cases, earnings per share and revenue, SoFi always far exceeds all the analyst expectations always. So once again, I think that most likely will be coming this time around. When it comes down to the data points, there is a grand total so far of $3.86 million in calls being purchased versus 710,000 in puts. So based on this information right here, clearly people are anticipating for it to continue to trend up. And if you are looking at the grid, it is oddly enough anticipated to go between the 10 to 1050 by next week, so right before their earnings. So again, I think that is a very good sign that SoFi is, at least investors feel that SoFi is going to have another home run earnings. And of course, like I've said in the past though, options activity does not necessarily move the stock price. It is just merely a sentiment. But as far as big money getting in, it kind of is a little bit slow today. So this is all the bid, the asks, and the selling price. And majority of these that did occur so far today were sells. So similar nature to what is happening with retail, just getting out. It looks like big money as well is kind of pulling back. Could be because of retail sales. So retail sale numbers did come out first thing in the morning. Both the month over month and year over year were a little bit lower than, I guess, the forecast. So potentially signs of cracking a little bit, or maybe there's just too high of expectations. I don't know. Let me know you guys' thoughts on that as far as what to expect in the next couple of days. So with it being at $9.52, it is currently between right here, so the pivot and the R1. So it's definitely done a fairly good job of holding that around 850 support range, but still that is the next point that you need to watch for as far as very strong support. $9.78, which coincidentally that is exactly what it did bounce off of today as far as the high. So of course that is most likely where it is going to be continuing to trade for most likely the remainder of the week, unless there is some good piece of news that does cause it to kind of justifiably break above this R1. So definitely those are the 2 points that you need to watch for. But in addition to that though, I think a lot of people are starting to look at a lot of the multiples for SoFi and a lot of the other banks, especially since they are unveiling their Q2 earnings. And I think SoFi, with it being at 5.4 for the current and future is 4.2, I feel that is still at a discounted price. But of course, that's just my own interpretation. Who who isn't a financial advisor. And one thing I just wanted to bring up quickly, Morningstar. So Morningstar still does have the fair market value for SoFi being $14, and this just came out late last week. So once again, I think that SoFi does have a lot more room to go up, and that analysts, based on their recent ratings, are kind of low in comparison. So Morgan Stanley, their latest one, so they downgraded $7 target. I think a lot of that is just BS, but of course, I could be wrong. I'll give you guys a good overview of what is happening with shorts as a kind of a good benchmark to use. So short score is currently 64, utilization is 42.45%. And as far as this, shorts are returning 151,000 shares, 15.19% of the free float is being shorted, which that does work out to be 121.06 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1.01%, so kind of small in that regard. But I do anticipate a little bit more of a continuation of FOMO up until their earnings, which once again is on the 31st. And I feel that shorts are going to just naturally leave right before that as well. So just a little bit more of a prediction. I do see at least our short interest going into our earnings around maybe the 10 to 12% range. So I do feel that there is going to be a lot of upside coming, and that might result in maybe around the $11 range, at least before the earnings. But that is just a complete prediction. When it comes down to it though, I do feel that SoFi is finally gaining the ground that it actually does need, that people are starting to finally look at SoFi as a credible company, not necessarily just as a kind of a SPAC or just a meme stock per se. It is being seen as a very big force to be reckoned with. So I think that's a fairly good accomplishment, and analysts are starting to still not fully give in. They're still being very conservative with a lot of their ratings, but the fact that Bank of America is giving $10 and not $5, I think that's also bullish. So a lot of the data points behind the scenes are very good, with exception of big money not necessarily getting in, but I do feel that is because of bigger concerns with retail and things like that. Let me know you guys' thoughts on all that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you are looking for a good platform for an all-in-one kind of thing, so SEC filings, transcripts, dividends, earnings, everything under the sun, take a look at my link in the description below for Seeking Alpha Premium. Has a 14-day free trial, so take advantage of that. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on SoFi.